Welcome back to the Living Proof Recovery Podcast. We're your host, Brian and Evan.
Yep.
So before we get started tonight, I want to give a special shout out to my son, Blake. Blake has become a very avid listener of our podcast. For those that don't know, Blake is my oldest son. Blake is autistic, and Blake has really taken a liking to recovery. And he's doing all things recovery right now. So whenever he gets on a kick of something, he goes all in, right? He becomes almost obsessed with it. So he's been obsessed with our podcast. He's been watching Intervention constantly whenever he's at my house. He's even started to listen to certain country music stars who are in recovery, right? So he's all in on Team Recovery right now. So I just want to give a special shout out to Blake. I'm sure he's going to listen to this. So, I love you, buddy, and we appreciate your support. That being said, we'll just get right into the episode. All right. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to do something a little different. We both have a list of sentences that we are going to finish. Right. So, I'll read the first one. I knew I needed recovery when.
I knew I needed recovery when I had really lost the will or desire to keep living.
Hmm.
And that's sucks to say because I've got like a beautiful family as
Right.
well, but
It's the truth, though.
It's the truth, and I literally got to this point on my last run where it was like I really felt like it would have been easier for my family if I wasn't there,
Yeah.
And that's not true. That's not the case.
Well, the
But
biggest lies we believe, though.
right, that's where I was at mentally, and I was just so mentally and emotionally beaten down and broken from trying to live this double life, and it was just a mentally a really dark place at that time.
Mm. Yeah. So I think it's kind of cliche to say, right? But I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I got exposed for being a fraud, being a liar, being selfish, being just a sick human being. And I got smacked right in the forehead with it. Somebody threw it right in my face. And I finally saw the reality of my situation, and it was hopeless. And I finally just got beaten down to that point where it's like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't live with it or without it. It's like this terrible place to be. I'm grateful for that place. But at the time, it's like, man, this is awful. Like, I don't want to live and I don't want to die. Like, I don't want to do either. Like, so that's when I finally came to the realization that I needed recovery because I had tried before on my own, or doing things my way, and none of it worked. And it just kept getting worse and worse. And I just got to the point where I just was ready to give up.
Yeah.
I was ready to give up.
And I think for me on how I answered that, that my last high, I've talked about it on here and with you, I did fall out in my driveway,
Mm-hmm.
and for some reason came to hours later, and at that moment that was where I was like, wait a minute. I started thinking about my wife and kids finding me in the driveway like that, and that was kind of the eye opener I needed to where like, wait a minute, like what am I
Does that
doing?
give you like an emotional response right now? Thinking back about that, because I'm got like goosebumps,
Yeah, I
like
mean,
thinking about
I do too,
thinking about like the way I felt that day,
Mm-hmm.
and how I felt like such a failure,
Mm-hmm.
and how I let everybody down, and how I was just a piece of shit, man.
Yeah, it when I talk about it and I'm like brutally honest about how I thought and what happened that night on my last high. Like it does make me, I kind of gotta like choke it back a little bit because it
Yeah.
does make me emotional because that's how just selfish I
Hmm.
was, you know. And even though I wasn't, that's the mind state I was in to where it was like it would be easier. They would be better off without me. Um, but it almost happened that night, you know,
Hmm.
and it's just so far from the truth, and it makes me really think about, you know, my wife and my children and my mom and dad and my stepmom and my stepdad and my sister and my, you know, both my sisters and my brother and just everybody that's a part of my life and what really that would have done to other people.
Yeah.
You know, it is it does. It brings a lot of emotions with it.
I think what the emotional response that I get from it is number one, looking back and seeing just how sick I was, right?
Hmm.
But also the gratitude. I got that makes me a little choked up too. Is the
Yeah.
gratitude that I don't live like that anymore. That
Mm.
in
Thank God.
in 5 short years, how much my life has changed. Not just my
Hmm.
life, but my relationships, just everything. My mind, my mindset, my physical body, like everything has changed in 5 years. And I think that part of that like kind of gets me choked up a little bit too, just the
Hmm.
amount of gratitude that I have,
Yeah.
right? You want to go on with the next skip number two because we kind of
That's
just went over
that's what
that.
I was gonna do. So, I thought getting sober would.
I thought getting sober would suck. That's how I would finish that sentence. I thought it would suck. I thought I would never have fun again. I thought I would have no friends. I thought I would be miserable. I thought because that was my whole experience with not using or not drinking was just terrible. Like my life sucked when I didn't,
Mm.
So I thought my life would be unmanageable,
Yeah.
and it was until I found recovery. So that's how I would finish that sentence is that I thought my life would, I thought it would suck. I thought recovery would suck.
Yeah. Um, for me, you know, I thought just getting sober would change the way people viewed me.
Mm, okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Um.
Like overnight.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sober.
Yeah.
What
I've
do you
been
mean?
sober for 8 hours.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you
Like I
talking
thought
about?
it would just
What do you mean, where am I
instantly.
going?
Right. You know, and that just wasn't the case. You know, it took some time with the people closest to me in my life and other, you know, just it took some time.
Hmm. All right. Nobody warned me that recovery would blank.
Nobody warned me that recovery would challenge me
Mm.
in the aspects of my life that it has, as far as pushing myself through fearful moments, you know, learning how to walk through challenges of life and just face them for what they are, and you know, just being able to continue to grow in that uncomfortability,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Nobody warned me that recovery would rid me of excuses.
Yeah.
Like I had an excuse for everything.
Oh yeah.
It's your fault. I don't have to take responsibility. Um, that and no one, twofold, right? No one warned me that recovery would require discipline and
Hmm.
responsibility. Those are two things that I struggled with my entire life.
Yeah.
They kind of go with excuses, right? Like I didn't want to take responsibility for anything because it wasn't my fault. It was somebody else's fault. I never had the discipline to continue to do things. I was always a great stopper, but or a great starter at things, but an even better stopper at
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
I never finished anything. So I think responsibility in discipline and the fact that excuses that I no longer have an excuse. Once I know what's the problem, which is me, I don't have any more excuses
Yeah.
than to get well, so
Yep.
I've already forgot who read that one. I read that one, didn't I?
Yeah. So the hardest part of early recovery was,
Getting the feelings back.
yeah,
The
yeah.
old cliche, but it's so
Mhm.
true. Like that's why it's a cliche, right? It's because, man, I did not know how to deal with
Mhm.
just life. I did not know how to deal with all these things that we call emotions. I'm just a roller coaster. I
Yeah.
was a roller coaster in early recovery. Um, and just navigating that was just so hard. And that's why good sponsorship is so important. A good
Mhm.
support group is so important. I needed that stuff because, man, I was a mess. One day I'd be great, or 1 hour I'd be great, and then I'd just be crying,
Yeah.
or sad, mad, happy, like I just all over the place,
Yeah.
Um, so that getting my feelings back, things that I hadn't felt for a really long time,
Mhm.
that was nobody, that was the hardest part for me in
Yeah.
early recovery.
Yeah. Um, well, yeah, definitely that, what you just said, but I guess another thing, which is kind of like what I touched on a minute ago too, was just doing doing the things I needed to do, and the questioning from people when it's
Mhm.
like, what do you mean you're going to all these meetings and you're doing all these things, like, and it was like almost feeling like I was being questioned about
Like you're
like
being attacked.
if I'm really doing these things, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? Why would you question me? I'm like, I haven't just been running out here doing heroin for the last however long.
Ask
Like,
one day at a time, Mike.
yeah,
He saw me there.
yeah, he
He was
saw
there.
me there.
Yeah. Yeah, that is hard. We hear that a lot from new
Yeah,
people, because people want to see action, right? They don't
yeah,
believe us. We've
right,
lied for so
yeah,
long. Yeah, I'm going to a meeting,
yeah.
or yeah, I'm meeting with my sponsor,
And
or
it wasn't even like people directly asking me like, if are you really going to do this? Are you really going?
right.
But just the way they ask questions, and I'm like, I know that's what they're getting at.
Yeah.
Just fucking ask me.
Yeah,
Just
or the
ask
way
me.
we interpret it. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah, for sure. All right. The biggest surprise about sobriety has been,
The biggest surprise, man. The the biggest surprise has just been, I guess I'm trying to think of which way I want to look at it
I know
from,
there's
but
so many.
there's so many, but I think for me, the freedom and the faith, right? And
Hmm.
when I say, like, I've experienced the freedom before, but it's different this go around, right? It's something different, and I think a lot of that has to do with um, me really putting my all into it this time, and my faith in God's hands nowadays, which is something that I've never experienced before. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I thought I was the Almighty.
Oh
Even
yeah.
even in recovery in the past, it was still like, no, I'm running this. I'm doing this
Hmm.
thing. Um, so that has been
Pin the gold medal on his chest.
right, right. That's the way I was. Um, but there's so many surprises and blessings that have come over the
Hmm.
last 4.5 years, but that's just something that has really stuck out this time, because I true freedom, and that comes in, you get the freedom when you are spiritually fit.
Yeah.
That's how you get the freedom.
Hmm. So the biggest surprise for me, but like I said, there's so many. Excuse me. But and I agree with everything you said, but I'm gonna try and go a different angle. Is just the way that things have been able to be repaired, in my life. The relationships. Um, People tend to want me around now. And maybe they did before, but
Amen.
I always felt like I wasn't wanted,
Yeah.
in the same room with people, and that just might have been my shit,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just the way that I felt, like you're just tolerating me because we're family,
Yeah.
or you're tolerating me because we're married, or you're
Mm-hmm.
tolerating me because I'm your son-in-law or
Yeah.
whatever. But now it's like the biggest surprise is that I feel like people are happy to see me
Yeah.
now when they see me, just because like relationships have been repaired. The ones that I thought would never be repaired have been repaired. So
Yeah.
that's been a huge surprise for me.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like this like recovery thing like
Yeah.
actually works,
Right. Right.
like, and it's, I want to kind of piggyback on that a little bit and just share something that we we're searching for power in recovery, right? We learned in the first step that we're powerless. And the second step, we learned that there's a power greater than ourselves that can restore us. But it doesn't just restore us around alcohol. It's like this power that infiltrates our relationships, our creativity,
Mm-hmm.
our professional life, our money, like all
Yeah.
these different things. Like we get all of this power, we get all these blessings, just our happiness, in
Mm-hmm.
all aspects of life, not just around drinking
Yeah.
or using, right?
Yeah. All right. Go on the next one.
Yep.
All right. I knew I was actually changing when.
I knew I was actually changing when I was no longer thinking about drinking and using. And
Mm-hmm.
even before, slightly before that, because I knew I was changing when I started doing things that I just flat out didn't want to do,
Mm-hmm.
because in the past, when I had tried working steps, and tried is a operative word there,
Mm-hmm.
like not, I didn't try
Yeah.
fully, like like I said, I come out the gate strong and then I just kind of fade.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I started doing things that I normally wouldn't do,
Mm-hmm.
like follow through,
Yeah.
keep my word, take
Mm-hmm.
responsibility, things like that. That's when I knew I was changing. That's when I started to see changes when in my thinking, when I started doing things differently,
Mm-hmm.
so I just one day just woke up and I was like, man, I haven't thought about using in a long time.
Yeah.
Like this is the first time that this has happened to me in over 20 years.
Yeah.
Like this is crazy. Like something's changing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't all about me.
Yeah. Um, for me, and it might sound odd or silly, but it's the truth. Two moments really, right, was I was in rehab this last time, and my son was younger then, right, obviously, but um, and he had been talking a little bit, but I remember on the phone with my wife, and she put him on the phone, and I remember asking her what happened when I heard his voice and him talking to me, and I said, what happened?" And it had been 2 3 weeks at this point that
Mm.
I'd been in treatment, and that the fog and everything was lifting, and I asked her, I said, "What happened?" And like he sounds so grown, he sounds so different, and she said, "What do you mean?"
It's like
He's
you just,
been doing this. And it was like the first time that I heard his voice, like really
yeah,
heard it.
yeah.
Um,
You finally had ears to hear.
I did.
Yeah.
And then I think it was still that same week I had that same type of experience when my wife came to the center for like a family session, and I just sat with her and let her say everything she needed to say,
Mm. Those family sessions.
and just took it. But I heard her like and I felt something like inside in that moment. I don't know how to
Yeah.
explain it, but it was like the first time I really listened. She had said things like this in the past, I'm sure,
Right.
but I wasn't able to hear these things, and that's when that's really when I felt something inside of me starting to shift and change.
So that just reminded me of something. I'm going to share this quick story. Man, I've got something in my throat and I just can't clear it. But probably sounds like I'm choked up, like I'm crying. I'm not. I don't cry. But
We're men.
men's. But that reminded me of something. So those family sessions that we have in
Mhm.
treatment, right? So I was getting ready for my first session. I don't know how long I'd been there, maybe a week, 2 weeks, something like that. And I'm thinking like, man, I'm killing it. Like I'm doing so good. My wife's gonna come up here and see me, and it's just gonna go great. She's gonna tell me how much she misses me, how much she needs me, like all this stuff. And my therapist, Tanya, she caught me, and she was like, "Hey, Ashley's in my office. She's been in there for like 20 minutes. We've been talking." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And she was like, "No, not cool."
Not
She
cool
was
at
like,
all.
"I just want to give you a heads up. This might not go real well. So have an open mind and just listen." And I was
Mhm.
like, "What?" Like, what do you mean? I'm thinking she's going to hug me and tell me how, "Oh my God, you're doing so great."
Yeah.
Dude, I walk in, she's already crying. And I was like, "Oh, this is going to be so bad." And I sat down and she let me have it. She told me about basically how selfish I was and how I was a liar and how I was a fraud and how I had made her feel. And dude, it sucked. And I had to take it, right? And I had to sit there and take it. And every part of me just wanted to fight back
Mhm.
and argue. And I did a little bit. Like I said a couple things, but at the end of the day, I was like, by the time we got through at the end of it, I was like, you know what? You're right. I was like, I've been a selfish piece of shit.
Yeah.
And man, it did not go the way that I expected it to,
Mhm.
but it went the way it needed to go, right? Because she had some things that she needed to say that she had been wanting to say for a really long time, but she was afraid to say them to me
Yeah.
because of what I would do. Not what I would do to her, but I would just spiral,
Yeah.
So um, I just popped in my head. I hadn't thought about that in a really
Yeah.
long time. That feeling that I have when I walk in there. So I was like, oh shit, like what did I just walk into? Um, but I took it.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, where are we at? The thing I miss least about addiction is,
Oh God.
yeah, it's like there's so many to choose
Yeah.
from.
Right. Dude, I don't. The thing I miss the least about addiction. Um. Obviously the withdrawal, the self pity that I had,
Hmm.
the misery that I put everyone in my life through. Like, I mean, there's so many things. I don't miss anything.
No,
Like, I don't miss any of it, and I don't I don't know what to pinpoint it to. I don't miss. I don't know.
yeah, I think I
I
got you. I
yeah.
think I got you.
Okay.
I don't. The thing I miss the least is being a slave.
Well,
I,
yeah,
I, mi-
yeah,
I miss being a slave to other people, to drugs, to alcohol,
yeah.
to other people, the need for validation, like everyone to
Hmm.
like me, like just everything that goes with addiction.
Yeah.
Like I don't miss any of that shit.
No.
Waking up every day, like it's a full-time fucking job, like full-time,
Yeah.
24-hour a
Yeah.
day.
It's your
And
main job.
it pays very poorly.
Yes.
Right? It doesn't pay well at all. It ends up me being broke at the end of the week. I'm
Right.
like, man, I got my paycheck and it's negative $500. Like, what
Right.
the fuck? Yeah, it sucks. Fucking
Yeah.
sucks, bro.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. But what's crazy before we move on? What's crazy though is we will fight tooth and nail to hang on to that fucking job.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like the worst job in the world.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to keep this fucking job. I
Yeah, it's insane.
don't even have a benefits package. Don't even have a
Right.
401k.
Right.
Don't get promoted. Like nothing, man. It's
Uh,
fuck that job.
Yeah. Um, let's see. The thing I'm most grateful, or the thing I'm most grateful that addiction has taught me. I guess it's missing a word there or something.
Thing I'm most grateful addiction taught me
Yeah.
is taught me about gratitude. I mean, I've lived my whole life without gratitude,
Yeah.
thinking that I'm entitled, I deserve, I'm owed things,
Yeah.
you know, take things for granted, you know.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm trying to read. I don't like the way this is worded
I
either.
don't
It's
either.
really messing me up. The thing I'm most grateful addiction taught me is, or that addiction taught me. Okay. No, what I'm most grateful that addiction taught me is that I can't, I'm not enough to
Yeah.
do this by myself.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not enough as a person, but I'm not enough as a person to beat alcoholism or drug addiction, that I need something greater than me. That's what it taught me, is that by myself, I'm a mess.
Yeah.
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 That
Um,
wording of that really sucks.
yeah. Um, the thing I'm most grateful addiction taught me is that I'm resourceful.
Yeah.
You know,
That's something we can use today.
right?
Yeah.
You know, like when push comes to
That's a
shove,
really good
like,
answer.
you know, if I need to get it done, like addiction taught me that I can get something done if I really put my mind to
I
it.
feel like I'm on Family Feud right now. Good answer. Good
Right,
answer.
right. 27 points.
Yeah, yeah, that's the top one. That's a great answer,
You
actually.
know, but that's just trying to think of something more positive that
Mhm.
addiction taught me
Yeah.
because it was a lot more negatives.
Well, I mean, you're spot on though.
Yeah.
You know, if we can just channel that to recovery and, you know, doing the right things,
Yeah.
like it's a superpower. You know, think about it. Like we as alcoholics and addicts, like we're pretty tough fucking people.
Mhm.
You know, like we've been through some shit.
Yeah.
You know, we've been through some shit that normal people, if they went through, they would fold like some laundry.
Right.
You know, like real quick. You know, and I think that resilience that you were talking about is very valuable.
Yeah.
You know, like, and then I use that a lot today. You know, I look at things like something will happen. I'm like, man, this ain't shit. You know, like
Yeah.
compared to what I've been through, this isn't shit. Like
Mhm.
this is some bush league stuff right here. Like this is nothing.
Right. Um, do you want to kind of skip ahead a little
Yeah,
bit
we can.
since we're I used to think recovery meant.
I used to think recovery meant just not drinking or just not using. That's
Mhm.
what I thought recovery was. I thought recovery just meant abstinence. I thought it just meant I'm going to be a miserable human being. That's what I thought it
Mhm.
meant. I thought it just meant put the substance down, and that's recovery.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it
Yeah. I think that's
meant.
spot on. That's what I used to believe as well. So I don't think I have too
Okay.
much to go into.
All right. So now I understand recovery means blank.
Um, to heal mind, body, and spirit.
Mm.
Right. I know we've kind of talked about that before. We have a 3-part disease, so we have a 3-part solution,
Hmm.
and that's what recovery is to me, is to heal in those 3 areas.
Yeah, I understand recovery is that, and this is kind of the same thing, but to grow in understanding and effectiveness, right? To
Yeah.
grow, it
Mhm.
means to like status quo isn't enough. Like
Yeah.
what I did today is not enough. Like I got to
Yeah.
keep pursuing different things and different levels of recovery. there's levels to this. You know, it's every time we hit a new level, that means that I can help the people that were at the previous level that I was at. You know,
Yeah.
so growth,
Yeah, definitely.
recovery means growth for me.
Yeah. Um, let's go with this one. The character defect I catch myself defending is
um, just one. So probably if I had to narrow it down, I can narrow it down to two, and they're kind of the same thing. They're the same thing. Judgmentalness
That's
or intolerance,
Right.
like the kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, that one for me is I'll defend that to the grave.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes about certain things.
Yeah.
But certain things I'm like, yeah, and that's a defect and it needs to go. But certain things I'm like, yeah, I'm judging you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have you hung already. Like I'm judge, jury, executioner.
Right.
You know, you're dead.
Yeah. For me, I guess let's see. I mean, I'm still pretty good at procrastination,
Yeah,
you know. I can put some shit off.
for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
I can put some stuff off.
Yeah.
We'll take care of that later.
Yeah.
You know.
Ask my
so-
wife about that.
Right. Right. Oh.
Let's see. The worst advice I ever received was
The worst advice I ever received was. So I guess this doesn't specify
yeah, I mean, I guess it can just be in
Yeah.
general.
an addiction and recovery. Man, you know, it kind of just makes me. I just shared something on social media the other day, and it kind of makes me think of that. But it was talking about, you know, my younger self when I first started using, and you know, asking people like, "What's that feel like? What's it like? You know,
Mhm.
what's heroin like? What's Oxycontin like? What's it feel like when I put it in that needle?"
Right.
And just the way people hyped it up of what it would be,
Mm.
and you know, that's kind of what I'm thinking about right now.
I didn't tell you about the dope sickness.
Yeah, they didn't warn me about, you know, any of that.
Like, dude, it's
Which,
great.
yeah, yeah,
It's fantastic.
you know,
I think the worst advice I ever received, and I'm thinking about in recovery. I remember I went to a meeting. This was years ago, and I asked a guy. I said, "Hey," it was after the meeting. I said, "Hey, we read these steps at every meeting. When do I start this? When do I start the steps?" You know, I was new, you know, and he said, "How long you been sober?" And I think it was something like 2 weeks, 10 days, something like that. And I told him that, and he said, "Well, go to 90 meetings in 90 days, and then I'll consider telling you if you make it, if you stick around."
Mhm.
So I thought, okay, I just need to go to meetings, you know. And problem was, I couldn't make it 90 days without drinking, right? Because I'm a fucking alcoholic. So me going to a bunch of meetings, you know, didn't do me any good. You know,
Mhm.
I needed to do some work. And this guy, was he trying to hurt me? No.
Yeah,
You know, he wasn't trying to hurt me. He was trying to help. That's probably what he was told. He might not even been a real alcoholic, you know. But that's why it's so important that we don't tell people shit like that, you know, because he told me that. And I was just like, oh, okay. I didn't know any different. He didn't say, well, you need to get a sponsor and get started now. You know, it's like, oh, okay, I'll just keep going to meetings.
yeah,
You know, it's going to solve my problem.
yeah.
But the problem was I couldn't get 90 meetings in 90. I couldn't get to 90 days. I couldn't get to 3 weeks. You know,
Right,
so
yeah,
that was kind of an issue, you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, his basically what he was saying was prove to me
Mhm.
that you're willing to do this. And it's like somehow he was God or
Yeah.
something. Instead of giving me the solution, he just said, "No, you need to show me,"
Yeah.
you know, and that really left a bad taste in my mouth, you know.
Mhm.
Like, luckily, I didn't go out and get drunk and hit someone in my car or
Mhm.
overdose or something, you know, like,
Yeah.
because we never know. The next time might be the last time. You know,
Absolutely.
that's why we can't tell people that dumb shit, you
Yeah.
know.
So I guess just going off of that one, the best advice I almost didn't listen to was.
Hmm. The best advice I almost didn't listen to. I mean, I listened to it. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Sponsorship. You got to go work with others.
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing that I almost didn't listen to because the thing crept in my head of, what if I fuck them up? I'm not qualified. I haven't been
Mm-hmm.
sober long enough. You know, all the things that we hear, you
Mm-hmm.
know, all the things that we come up with, the fear comes in. Um, but I was told, no, you're going to do this. You have to do this. Like, you need to
Mm-hmm.
do this if you want to recover. And that was probably the best advice that I got that I almost didn't listen to. That and fuck your feelings.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't really advice, but it was basically advice because it was someone telling me that, you know what, no matter how you feel, there's things you got to do,
Yeah.
you know. So I'd say that was probably the best advice, was get into sponsorship as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. For me, it was not even directly given to me. It was just say yes.
That's a good one too.
You
Yeah.
know, we've talked about that on here
Mm-hmm.
before, and that was advice that was given to millions of people through this one individual, and I definitely received it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Um, let's see. The person I had the hardest time forgiving was myself because
I was my biggest critic
mm-hmm.
always. You know, if you looked at me and you thought any certain type of way about me, I
it was
felt
it
the
was
same
it was
way
true.
times 10.
It was true.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was true,
Yeah.
and I
It's
knew
a
it,
fact.
and I felt it 10 times heavier than the way you did in your heart.
Yeah.
You know,
We're very much alike in that.
yeah, I caused so much harm to myself, and I hurt so many people in so many
Mm-hmm.
different ways. And, you know, I just, for a long time, I didn't think that I deserved
Yeah.
forgiveness, you know.
Yeah, man. I had such a low view of myself. You know, like
Yeah.
it was so bad. You know, I just thought like I was just the worst person in the world. You know, like, how could anyone ever forgive me? How could anyone like me? How could anyone want to be around me? How could, like, I hated myself, you know, and I couldn't even look at myself. You know,
Hmm.
that was hard, you know. Um, that's why it was just so, that was the hardest for me, like forgiving myself. It wasn't necessarily other people, it was myself, you know. And luckily for good sponsorship, you know, I was able to, when I did an inventory, I went on that inventory. My name went on that inventory,
Hmm.
right? Because the biggest resentment I had was to me, you know, and I had to look at that and I had to see what the truth in it was. And the truth in it was that I was a sick person, you know, that I wasn't a bad person. It wasn't a moral problem, that I was just sick,
Hmm.
you know, and I finally was able to forgive myself for that because I would never look at somebody the way that I looked at myself for being sick. You know, like if somebody has cancer or whatever the illness is, you know, I would never look at them the way that I looked at myself,
Yeah.
you know. So, um, yeah, that was hard. It was really hard because I'd done so many bad things and I knew about all of them, you know,
Oh,
like
yeah.
they were all living in my head.
Yeah, for sure. I don't remember who.
It's on you now.
It's on me. All right. I don't really like that one.
Skip it.
My most ridiculous pre-recovery excuse was.
Wow. My most ridiculous pre-recovery excuse was, okay, I got one for you. I think I've shared this on here. I was in treatment and I was trying to justify my use or I was trying to justify my dishonesty by saying I would not have to lie to my wife if she would just let me use the way I want to use.
Mhm.
You know, and the counselor or the facilitator looked at me like I had three heads. And she was like, "Do you hear yourself?" She said, "She doesn't want you to use the way that you want to use because you'll die." But in my head, I was thinking, I wouldn't have to lie to you if you would just let me be and let me kill myself. I wouldn't have to lie to you.
Yeah.
And that was the excuse that I had to justify my behavior for my lying, my using, my manipulation was because you won't let me do what I want.
Yeah.
Because you'll give me shit over it. You won't let me get high in peace. And that's fucking sick. That's pretty sick.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the most ridiculous one for me was I use my family as that excuse, which a lot of people do. Well, I can't go to treatment. I can't go
Mm-hmm.
away. Like my family needs me. They need me here they need to see me nodding out on
Yeah.
Christmas morning,
Yeah.
and they need me to drain our bank account, and
Yeah.
they need me to
How these bills going to get paid?
right. Like that was always a go-to of mine in my own head. Well, I can't go to treatment because my kids need me,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm, let's see. If my addiction had a Yelp review, it would say,
Oh God.
"Do you see the next category? It says more uncomfortable." These get more uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't have any more for that
Okay.
one though. If my addiction had a Yelp review, man, it would say that it comes with a lot of man. This is a
It's tough, isn't it?
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
tough one, man. It would say that um I would my addiction would come with a lot of cheating, lying, stealing, um, you know, losing everything in your life that you've had or that you loved. Being without my kids, um, it would. This is a how do I? It would kind of tell the truth of everything. Addiction would come with spending every dollar I ever had on dope.
Mm-hmm.
It would. It, man, I don't know how I would word it in a Yelp review.
Yeah.
You know.
I would say 0 out of 5 stars. I would
Yeah.
not recommend patronizing this establishment.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
service sucks. Um, yeah, it's a terrible place to go.
Yeah.
Don't go there. Never come back to this place. Never
Hmm.
going to this place again. This place sucks.
Yeah.
All right, you're up.
Um. Let's see. Let's see. The weirdest thing about sober life is
Weirdest thing? um, the people I meet in meetings. I think that's the weirdest thing. Like there's some weird people in recovery. There's just some weird people in the world, right?
yeah.
Like I think the weirdest which one was it? What number is it? I got to read it myself. Or
31.
31. The weirdest thing about sober life is yeah, just attending these meetings I think is the weirdest thing for me. That and having to be vulnerable.
Mhm.
That's kind of weird. You know, if you're not used to doing that, it's really weird and it's really uncomfortable and it's awkward and it's just like, or I'll tell you an example is it's weird, but I enjoy it every time I see it. Is when we see certain people give out chips at meetings and they don't know how to execute the hug.
Yeah.
It's so weird and it's so awkward. It's like I don't know if I'm supposed to hug you, if I'm supposed to shake your hand or dap you up or good job. You know, it's
Yeah.
just we've noticed that before. It's weird and I
Yeah.
love it every time. It's great.
Yeah. Man, so mine kind of like I was gonna kind of go there too, as far as the hug goes, but like it's weird, but then again, it's not weird to me anymore. Like, and I can give an example of it was I was at work and a gentleman comes
Oh
in
yeah.
and we're discussing stuff at work related things, and out of nowhere he just says, "You're in the program, aren't you?" And I'm just kind of like, "Well, how do you know?" And and he's like, I just have a feeling. So I told him, yeah, at that time I had just celebrated a year.
hmm
So I was like, yeah, I'm a year sober. And then he reaches in his pocket and he pulls out his token, and it was like 30 years,
Right.
and the guy's like, "Can I give you a hug?" And I'm just like, "Sure, man." And
I wish I could have been
I'm
there to
now
see that.
hugging this complete stranger in the middle of work, and my coworkers are looking at me like, "What are you doing? Like, why are
Yeah.
you hugging this random guy?"
Yeah.
And like that's weird,
It is.
but it's
But
not
it's
at the
not.
same
Yeah.
time,
Yeah. I think that's a
because if
good
you're
one. Like,
not in this community, you don't
yeah,
understand.
the amount of hugs that
Yeah,
we give is weird.
yeah.
Like, but it's not.
Or
Like,
or how same thing at you and when you and I worked together,
mhm.
and Nate came in one day and
He
brought
brought us
us he
breakfast.
brought us showed up at work and
Yeah.
brought us breakfast,
Yeah.
and when he was leaving, I gave him a hug and said, "Love you, bro."
Yeah.
And one of our coworkers was like, "Tell your friends you love them." And I'm
Yeah.
like,
I
"I
do it
do
all the
today.
time.
I do
I do
today,
too.
bro." Like
I got off the phone with Maddie today and I was like, love you, man. Like,
it,
it just comes out now.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's just, I don't know. To people that haven't come from where we've come from, it probably seems very weird.
Yeah.
You know, they're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck did you just say? How well you know that guy.
Right.
Like, you love him so much, won't you marry him?
Right.
Did you read that one? You did, didn't you?
Yeah.
Uh, um, more uncomfortable. All right, cool.
I'm out on this one.
The truth I didn't want to hear was
The truth I didn't want to hear was that I was the problem.
yeah,
I didn't want to hear that.
I know.
I
You're like,
wanted,
are you sure?
yeah, I wanted to hear that drugs and alcohol were the problem.
Yeah.
I didn't want to look at myself to find out that I was the root cause of all the issues in my life, not the drugs and alcohol, that it was Evan was the problem.
Yeah. I didn't want to hear that my feelings aren't facts.
Yeah.
You know, Josh he didn't put it that nicely. You know, he said, fuck your feelings, and I didn't want to hear that.
Yeah.
And I said, you can't talk to me like that. He said, I just did. And I was like, all right. He said, man, Give it 5 minutes, they'll change. And they did. I was angry at him. I wasn't angry at the other guy anymore, you know? So,
Yep.
but I mean, what he was basically telling me was that, man, it doesn't matter how you feel. Like, it really doesn't. Like, in the grand scheme of things, there are things that you have to do regardless of how you feel. If you're happy, sad, mad, whatever, like,
Yeah.
there's certain things that you still have to do. Like, it doesn't mean that my feelings aren't valid or that they don't matter or that they're not real or that I'm not feeling them. It's what it means is at this moment right now, you got to set that aside. You got shit you got to do regardless of how you feel,
Yep.
you know? So when I was told that my feelings weren't facts, you know, it was like, they seem like it to me though, you know, but he was right. They weren't, you know, I had all these feelings and I made my entire life. I made decisions based on fear and emotion.
Yeah.
Never good, never good. Never,
Right.
don't do that. You know,
Yeah.
public disclaimer, public service announcement. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a terrible way to make decisions in your life based on fear or emotion, whether they're good or bad. You know, don't do that. Tommy
Yeah.
just texted me.
About one more.
Yeah, we got time for one more.
Yeah.
I think you're up.
I haven't. Okay.
I've got more if you want me to go.
I thought we were going to more uncomfortable. and I
Oh
don't-
yeah,
I
we
don't have
can.
that
You don't
list.
have that list? Okay. The thing I blame other people for that I eventually had to take responsibility for was
That goes my feelings. I blamed everyone else for how I felt in that moment. You know.
but they were triggering you, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. The triggers. I love that word. You know, that was. You know, and I was able to blame everything on someone else. You know, but you know, feelings were. Well, I feel this way because they did this, or because
Yeah.
they said that, or because when in
Mhm.
reality, like I'm in control of the way something makes me feel.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing I blame other people for that I eventually had to take responsibility for was my circumstances. You
That's a
know,
big one too.
my
Yeah.
circumstances, you know, I don't have a great job because of this, because I wasn't pushed to do better in school, or blame my parents for the way I was raised, or blame my first wife for the way our marriage went, or blame my childhood trauma, or blame XYZ. Like, it's just like blame, 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 blame. That's
Yeah.
just my circumstances were my own doing.
Yeah.
I got myself exactly where I was at from the decisions that I made, not that anyone else made. You know, it was my decisions, you know, and I eventually had to take responsibility for where I was at,
Yeah.
for my disease. I couldn't blame other people for my disease anymore. You know, it was my disease, not theirs. You know, they didn't cause it. They didn't, the circumstances exacerbate it for sure. You know, there's a lot of things in our life that can make to lead to more drinking, but it doesn't cause it. You know, and that's what we gotta get down to causes and conditions. Like, we have to understand that where this thing comes from. It doesn't come from the way someone talked to you or the way someone treated you. Yeah, that sucked. But there's a lot of people that are treated that way that don't turn to drugs
Yeah.
and don't turn to alcohol. You know, so it wasn't the fact that that pharmacy is open, or that Walgreens is on the corner, or the liquor store is there, or, you know, something triggers me. Like, fuck all that noise. Like, that is so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, if that's the case, then you still have an alcoholic mind, and you just should just lock yourself up in a closet, because
Yeah.
good luck not having things trigger you emotionally.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta learn how to deal with that stuff. But no, I mean, this was fun. It was challenging,
Yeah.
you know, because we literally came up with this list of stuff
And I also want
3 minutes before we started recording. So,
the usual. You know.
yeah.
Also want to say I just don't like how many times you use the word trigger right there.
Yeah, or you did it
Yes,
trigger you?
I don't like that.
Yeah, that word. If I could wave a magic wand and get rid of one word that is perpetuated through treatment centers, it is that one
Yeah.
because it keeps people in a victim mindset,
Yes.
and it's like get rid of it. Yes, there are things that trigger like emotional responses in you, but that doesn't trigger you to drink. It doesn't
Mhm.
trigger you to be an addict. It doesn't trigger. It's just an excuse.
Yeah.
Is what it is. Like so. That's just my opinion. Probably not a very popular one, but
Well,
I don't care. If you're
yeah.
triggered, call your sponsor. You probably don't have one. If y'all are talking about that kind of stuff. So there I go being judgmental again. But anyways, we appreciate everyone for tuning in to this episode. Thank you for all your support. Please like and subscribe to the podcast. And with that, we will see you guys next week. We out.
We out.